All right, Shalom. First off, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And this is shit, Shalom, to all the Akim out here that's doing, getting, pushing the work in truth and in sincerity. Okay, I want to go in this movie review of, it's a movie called The Banker. Okay, and it's starring Samuel Jackson and Anthony Mackie. Okay. It came out March the 6th, 2020. Okay. It says 93% of Google users liked it. Uh, it has some decent ratings. Okay. And it's about two so-called African American. Okay, which the so-called African Americans are the tribe of Judah, according to the scriptures. Okay, it says entrepreneurs, two African American entrepreneurs in the 1950s hire a white man, which is according to the Bible, uh, the so-called white race are known as Edomites. Okay, now you're gonna have some Israelites that do look like some Edomites. Okay, some so-called Negroes are going to look like some so-called Edomites or so-called white people. Some Negroes are going to look like white people. Okay. Uh, it says to pose as the head of their company while they posed as a janitor and a chauffeur and ran the business. Okay, and this movie is based off of a true story. Okay. Um, the characters that were being played in the movie, okay, um, Anthony Mackie, Anthony Mackie, and Samuel Jackson, um, their real life, the person that they were playing, Bernard Garrett, okay, um, let me see, yeah, Bernard Garrett, okay, the black businessman who built an empire despite Jim Crow oppression, and that's a good point. I'm glad that I researched that, because during the 1950s and everything like that, that was the Jim Crow era, okay, and it's a good movie. I liked it from off of the historical, aspect, and based off of applying what the Bible say, okay. Um, So it says using white colleagues as frontmen, Bernard Garrett brought real estate bought real estate, made millions, and uplifted fellow blacks in pursuit of the American dream. Okay, which and in reality, the American dream is full of crap, man. You know, um, but for the sake of how things were back then, and how things turned out today, it's kind of a good thing, you know, but it's also a bad thing at the end of the day too, you know, because they I want to say broke through some barriers, you know, but when you look at the way things are today, the lineage or the race of Edomites, their wickedness did not go away, man. Okay, the stuff is still the same. Okay, um, let me see, Russ. basically the so-called um the wickedness of the so-called white man, okay, did not go away. Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10, it says, "Never trust thine enemy." In 1950, my grandmother was born in 1956, you know, and when she's like what, 64, 50, I think, yeah, 64 right now, so you have some people who were around back then that experienced certain things, you know, that experienced racism and the um other things that was going on back then. Okay, now are they speaking about it? That's to be determined. But it says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Okay, and that's even still today. Though he humbles himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Okay? Now, in this movie, they were, Bernard Garrett and the other guy that Samuel Jackson was playing, his name was Joe Morris. Okay? And not that Joe Morris. But basically, Joe Morris and Bernard Garrett. Hold on. Joe Morris. Basically, in the movie they was buying real estate, okay? And then they went into buying a bank, okay? And it was a Edomite owned bank, okay? During the Jim Crow era, and they used a so-called white man to buy this bank, okay, and to buy the other real estate also, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do it because of the hatred that Esau has towards the so-called Negroes, okay, and the movie was going in on the redlining, okay, it was going in on how in this particular Edomite bank, when you're dealing with a bank, you're dealing with other people's money, you know. So, um, what happened was the fact that the money that was inside of that bank was Edomite money, okay, and they had got suspicious that two so-called Negroes had bought this bank, so a lot of the Edomites, they was like, yo, taking my money out the bank, and I'm going to go do something else. But they used that so-called white man as a decoy. Now, I personally believe that, Yahweh, okay, the Most High, used some Edomite looking Jake to help our people during those times, to help them get to where they are now. A lot of those, a lot of people, they look at everybody that's white, just, oh yeah, that's just the white man, you know. But I believe that the Lord used some Edomite looking Jake to help out the Israelites to help them through the captivity. Okay, and I think that may have been the case in this movie also. You know, hey, it was a Irish man in the movie who who helped him out with his first purchase. You know, and we say that a lot of those so-called Irish, they go back to Jake, they go back to Israelites. Okay, so Genesis 49:8, it says, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Okay, it says, thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Okay, and what that's talking about, okay, is every one of the tribes pretty much has inheritance. You know, uh, like or where they will be at predominantly in the end days. Because we really don't have no inheritance. You know, the houses that you have. If you're renting, you know, when you pass away, your children are supposed to be able to have that house that you have, for the rest of their life. Okay, that's their property. But is that realistic? No. Due to the times that we living in. So our children really aren't inheriting, anything. If anything, they're inheriting debt. Okay, especially during these times right now. Um, and other problems that you know a person may have left behind. Okay, um, but in the movie, let me get that word redlining. Okay, like I said, they was going into redlining. Okay, so it says in the United States and Canada, redlining is the systematic denial of various services by federal government agencies, local governments, as well as the private sector to residents of specific, most notably black neighborhoods or communities. It says either directly or through the selective raising of prices. Neighborhoods with high proportion of minority residents are more likely to be redlined than other neighborhoods with similar household incomes, housing age and type, and other determinants of risk, but different racial composition. It says, while the best known examples of redlining have involved denial of financial services such as banking or insurance, and that's what that movie The Banker, they was going in on how Jake bought the bank, in order to approve of loans to other Jake, to help them get approved for houses and bank accounts and so on and so forth. You know, because back then you have to even still today you have to show if you want to buy a house, you gotta have some collateral, or you have to have some type of um, paperwork. It has to be a paper trail. You know, or your pay stubs. You know, all of this stuff, and they give you this long process, man. Trust me, I've been through it. They give you this long process in order to buy this house, and they say, oh, we got to send it to the underwriters and all this stuff, and then sometimes, in a lot of cases, they will, if you buying in a certain neighborhood, you know, they will give you money in order to buy a house in that neighborhood because they know that neighborhood isn't really that good, and they want to put Jake sometimes in that position to fail, but they want to be able to put our people into certain um areas. Now, was that the case before? No, because they didn't give anything, they didn't care about anything our people at all. Okay, so it says other services such as healthcare, see also race and health, or even supermarkets have been denied to residents. It says in the case of retail businesses like supermarkets, purposely locating stores and practically far away from targeted residents results in a redlining effect. Reverse redlining occurs when a lender or insurer targets particular neighborhoods that are predominantly non-white, not to deny residents loans or insurance, but rather to charge them more than in a red line neighborhood where there's more competition. Okay, and that's the truth, man. You know, they will charge you a little bit more. You know, um, and this is the hatred that Esau has for our people. Okay, so it says, "Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemy." It says, "Thy father's children shall bow down before you." Okay, and you know, even though a lot of Jake don't really own their houses, man. In the hood, they don't. It's really rare to have a Jake, that that lives in the hood, that actually owns their house. You know, um, our people are an oppressed people. You know, that's clear as day. We're oppressed. Oh, let me get this Deuteronomy, because we are under the curses because we didn't listen unto our heavenly Father. Okay. It says, "The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up." Okay. It says, "And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always." So they're not going to give up. That's from the beginning on to the end. They're not going to give up. Okay, if they find out that Jake was growing something in their yard, they're gonna come and they're gonna try to take it, man. You know, um, and what you worked for, what you worked hard for. Okay, especially if it's on your property in Maryland. I know you have to get approval to expand on your house. You know, even though you own the house, you can own the house but not own the land. And that's another thing that they got Jake in the trick bag. You know, you can own the house but not own the land, and then you plan for rent on the land. You know, which is some bullshit. Okay, and excuse my language, man, but that's how it is, man. You know, um, let me see. Deuteronomy 28:44. He shall lend to you, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Okay, and you know, when you go into it, right, and that's also talking about the stranger. Okay, like these other nations, Moab and all that stuff. But when you look at Esau, right, Esau don't put their money into to you know so-called Negro uh institutions. You know, they don't invest into our stuff. You know, if and just like in that movie, if they found out that it was a bank where it was a lot of so-called black people owned it, they're gonna take their money out there as fast as I don't know what, man. You know, our people, we go to Esau for that money. You know, for loans and stuff like that. And then sometimes people be like, "Oh, you need to buy black, all this, that, or whatever." You know, and it's like, our people are still uh under the curses, man. Even if you buy black, that money is still gonna go. It's still gonna go back to the white man's pocket. You know. Um. So our people are at the tail end of everything, man. Okay, and that also goes into the, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, man. Okay? So, let me go to another scripture. Jeremiah 22. 13. It says, woe unto him that builds his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that he uses his neighbor's service without wages, and gives him not for his work. Okay, and that's what happened to our people. You know, when our people build stuff, they give them dirt cheap prices, man. You know, uh, even when so-called Issacharites, or Northern Kingdom, work. Okay, they get over on them, man. They getting paid less than minimum wage for doing the stuff for doing some of those jobs that they do. You know, and guess what? A lot of those jobs that they do, they're keeping America afloat, because if they stopped, then America would crash. Okay. Um, Micah 2 and 2, it says, they covet fields and take them by violence. Okay. I mean, if they want your house, man, they definitely will do that. Okay. It says, and houses and take them away. Okay, and they could do it from fraud, you know, set you up, man, and that's what they did in that movie. You know, they said that it was a lot of fraudulent activity going on, in that that movie. That's why they ended up getting taken down. It says, so they oppress a man and his house, and even a man and his heritage. Okay, so right here it says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. And they don't care, what goes on. Hey, even in that movie, when Jake was moving in to that house, the people, they ended up moving out. The Edomites, they ended up moving out. They feel like they could just talk to us any type of way. They don't want anything to do with us, and they know. Hey, even we know. And that's why Samuel Jackson was like, I don't trust white people, and I don't trust black people either. Because these fucking niggas, when they come into your neighborhood, they tear down the fucking value of it, man. If there's anything valuable in it, can't even walk to the store without niggas being on the corner of it, trying to sell you weed or trying to sell you some shit, man, or looking at you trying to steal something, So these our people, they are a lot of savages, man, Ecclesiasticus 21:8. He that builds his house with other men's money is like one that gathers himself stones for the tomb of his burial. And that's pretty much what they did in this movie. They was using other people money, and then they ended up getting caught, in the process. And it turned out, because they could have just sold out and said, effort, I'm going to get immunity from off of this, and which Esau was trying to do that. They was trying to sweep it under the rug, but somehow, some way it ended up, getting blown out, and ended up being a major thing because everybody was trying to figure out how the heck did two so-called black people end up getting get behind a white-owned bank, which that's Jacob for you, man. Jacob means supplant, man. They supplanted the system, and like I said, I think that the Lord use some of these so-called Edomite-looking Israelites to supplant the system, man. With Jake, But with that said, from off of what they did, you have certain things that follow, behind it. They call it the Fair Housing Act and all that stuff. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, being as though I just said that. Of 1968. An act to prescribe penalties for certain acts of violence or intimidation, and that's what the scriptures that we brought out. The acts of violence that they did, okay, and they tried to intimidate our people. It says, and for other purposes, okay. And this is one of the reasons why you got to put black and all that stuff. Still, man, which they still are, doing that to this day. They still oppressing people. Okay, still a lot of oppression going. If you can't see that, then you're blind. Okay. It says the 1968 Act expanded on previous acts of prohibited discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, and 1970s, and since 1974, sex. Because women weren't able to buy, houses back then either. Okay. So, pretty much, man, it was some bullshit too, because they brought charges against them, just because of the skin color, because they didn't like the fact that it was so-called Negroes buying houses, which that really shouldn't have been against the law in the first place, but being as though that we're in Babylon, okay, it's an unrighteous decree. It's a law. It was a law back then. It was an unwritten law, okay, but everybody knew it back then, and that's why they even still had to go to jail, even throughout all that stuff. They got them, for doing it, okay. So, it's a good movie, man. Suggest brothers watch it. It came out March the 6th. It kind of fell under the radar due to all of this, coronavirus stuff going on, but it just came out not too long ago, and I suggest brothers to watch it, if you haven't watched it, yeah, that's it, man. Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to say shalom till next time.